Yo, 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 mofo! This is Big Papa Pump, and I got your hookup. Actually, not really. This is Pat here. Quiet Riot on YouTube. Hey, got to plug my stuff first. Got a WrestleMania 31 podcast out there. Check it out, please, if you haven't yet. I got links for it on Main Event Wrestling Group, also in Wrestling Roundtable. And I also tagged several of my friends on my Facebook wall. I got my predictions, expectations, and thoughts on the big show coming up this Sunday out there. I wanted to do a quick rundown of my top 5 WrestleManias. So I'm just going to get right into it here, cut out the bull, and get to the cream of the crop here. And I'm going to go bring WrestleMania 6 into the fold here first. This would be an honorable mention for me. This would be like number 6 on my best of WrestleManias list. 67,000 screaming fans in the Toronto Sky Dome. This would have been the first WrestleMania outside of the United States, rather. But April 1st, 1990, April Fool's Day, that is. The Ultimate Challenge. Who could forget this match? One of the most iconic matches in wrestling history. Intercontinental Champ Ultimate Warrior against the Immortal Hulk Hogan. Champion versus champion. Intercontinental Champ Warrior against the Heavyweight Champ Hogan. Everything from listening to the crowd erupt as these two came out. The fact that Warrior got almost as big a pop as Hogan. To the time when they first locked up, just watching the crowd during this match. They turned in a really good match. Hogan was, of course, still at the height of his popularity during Hulkamania. Maybe not at the height of, but certainly Hulkamania was still running wild, brother, back in 1990. But Ultimate Warrior was over almost as big as Hogan. From what I remember, I think he was only 28 years old at the time or something. I heard Warrior talk about it in an interview short before he was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. And rest in peace, Warrior, by the way. They just turned in a great match. And they both cut such intense promos. Ultimate Warrior with his crazy rants that he would go on. But really, this is the first time Hogan ever jobbed at WrestleMania, and Warrior for a while there maybe even been bigger than Hogan. During that stretch when he was world champion. Everything, even the undercard on this show was very strong. When you had matches like Big Boss Man and Akeem, and Bolsheviks and Hart Foundation kind of being the filler, you know that you had a pretty good show, because even the bad was good on this show. And one of the best matches on the card would have been $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase against Jake the Snake Roberts. I love the way that they booked it. I just watched this WrestleMania again a couple of weeks ago, and this is during a time when they still did disqualifications and dusty finishes and that sort of thing, to try to keep their top guys over. But I liked the run-in they had after the match as well. You also had Macho King Randy Savage and teaming up with the very hot, sexy, sensational Sherry. And I saw a lot of this stretch of the Golden Era on tape and that sort of thing, because I really didn't start watching wrestling full-time until 92 when I was about 10 years old. But anyway, great mixed tag match between Macho King and sensational Sherry going against Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire. Miss Elizabeth makes a run-in during that match, and let me, spoiler alert here, she was a babyface at the time, Macho King was a heel, so you can figure the rest out yourself. You might want to go back and watch it. It was a very fun match. You also had Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown. I enjoyed that one as well. When you had Jake the Snake, or not Jake, we already talked about that match, but Ravishing Rick Rude and Jimmy Snuka, when you had that as part of your undercard, part of your filler, you know you had a fucking solid show. So that'd be number 6 on my list. Number 5 on my list of best manias would actually be WrestleMania 20 from Madison Square Garden. probably the best triple threat match, in my opinion, in history, being Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. If not the best, the most memorable triple threat. And I'm not the biggest fan of triple threat matches. However, these guys really turned in a great performance. Everyone did. You know, you saw like the ultimate underdog story. Chris Benoit finally fulfilled. He won the Royal Rumble that year, and that triple threat was just a great match. At one point, we thought Benoit was knocked out of the match. He ends up coming back. You know, I know he's the one we don't speak of anymore, but I gotta give props. This is number 5, my best of WrestleManias for that match. I love the way they booked it. I love the finish, everything about it. In fact, I think I remember maybe having a tear or two in my eye when Benoit won the title. On the other side of things, you had Eddie Guerrero against Kurt Angle for the world title at that point. It was the now defunct WCW title after the merger. And Eddie Guerrero was still in his, rest in peace, Eddie, by the way. He was still in his lie, cheat, and steal phase at that time. And they turned, Kurt and Eddie turned in a great match. I love the way that they booked it. I love the finish. You also had Undertaker and Kane going against each other for the second time at a WrestleMania. And several other matches on that card that were very solid. So that would be my 5th best WrestleMania. Number 4 would actually be WrestleMania 19 from Seattle, and Seattle is kind of my second home. I lived out there for 4 years. I moved out there after college, and have fond memories of being there. I didn't live there when this WrestleMania came to town. I was actually still in college when this WrestleMania 19 took place. But I mean, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Just a badass match. Of course, battle of 2 technicians and 2 former NCAA champions. Lesnar with that strongman style as well. What people will remember about it is Lesnar botching the shooting star press, almost breaking his freaking neck. But you can't go wrong with that. Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in their final encounter at a WrestleMania. I mean, what more can you say? A badass. The 2 top guys during the Attitude Era going at it. It was kind of what turned out to be a swan song for both of them as full-time performers, and really kind of Stone Cold's last big match. Rock's came back several times since, obviously working as a part-timer. But you had a street fight, 20 years in the making. Hulk Hogan and Mr. McMahon. I mean, wasn't this match something? This match here was better than anyone thought it had any right to be. And just watch the crowd during that match. It's entertaining as hell. You had Hogan's old rival, Roddy Piper, run in. His old rival from the mid-'80s runs in, hits Hogan with a lead pipe. But man, they really turned in a great performance. And you also had HBK, Shawn Michaels against Y2J, Chris Jericho. Well, a lot of people thought stole the show. I mean, that was a really good match as well. Loved the way they booked it. The only thing I'd really complain about is Triple H and Booker T. The way they booked that match. That's when Triple H was the top heel, and he was still world champ. So moving on, number 3 on my list is going to be WrestleMania X7 from the Astrodome. This might create some controversy because I know a lot of people have this at number 1 on their list of best WrestleManias. And 401mania.com, I think their writers voted at number 1. I've heard several people in our wrestling groups, including I think Kevin Hendricks, say that he thinks this is his best WrestleMania. I put this at number 3 on my list. I mean, you had what was probably the most iconic and the best WrestleMania match and the trilogy between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock at X7. They both came in as baby faces. I didn't like the swerve they pulled at the end with making Stone Cold heel and allying him with Mr. McMahon. Never thought that booking made much sense, and I thought it was kind of counterintuitive. But of course you had the TLC match that everybody's going to remember. The Dudleys, the Hardys, Edge and Christian. Most memorable TLC match ever, if not the best one. And even Lita gets involved, takes a crazy bump in that match. You had Mr. McMahon and Shane McMahon in a street fight, which was a lot of fun. You also had Undertaker and Triple H, which was not a bad match. That was during the streak. And Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle was on this card as well. But anyway, as far as wrestling goes, this may be the best WrestleMania when you look at just from a pure wrestling standpoint as far as the best matches. There's some reasons I didn't have it at number 1 though, and we'll get into that here. So my second best WrestleMania of all time would be the original from Madison Square Garden in 1985. You got to keep in mind there was no standard at the time for this type of a show in WWF. There just had been nothing like it, so there was nothing by which to judge it. Vince McMahon Jr. took a big risk, spending a lot of money to bring in stars like Muhammad Ali and Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper to star on this show to help get eyes on the viewership. But the first time there had really been a live wrestling pay-per-view, at least in the North, WWE had Starrcade in 1983. But there had been nothing like this in the old WWF until this point. Of course, you had Hogan and Mr. T against Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful in the main event with Cowboy Bob Orton at ringside, Muhammad Ali, the special enforcer. Very cool tag match. Liked the way they booked it. Tons of star power there. You had Andre the Giant, Big John Studd in the Body Slam Challenge. This is when Bobby the Brain was still managing Big John Studd. Andre was a babyface. $10,000 Body Slam Challenge. Just go back and watch it. I mean, great history there. Also, very good Intercontinental title match between Junkyard Dog and Greg the Hammer Valentine. They had a dusty finish, and I liked the way they booked that one. You had a very good women's title match with Wendy Richter as well. And you know what I really liked about the first WrestleMania, because I went back and watched it and realized how good it was last year, is the fact that they booked the thing tight, 2 hours. I don't like a lot of filler in my shows, and there really is no filler, except maybe King Kong Bundy and Special Delivery Jones. But that match was 9 seconds record as far as how quick a match it was, until I think they broke it a few years ago when they screwed over Daniel Bryan when he fought Sheamus. But anyway, historically, there's no bigger WrestleMania than the first one. And